Hi everybody, my name is David. Thank you for joining me today for my question and answer videos I do every single week. I want to welcome new people here, new subscribers, new viewers. If you haven't subscribed yet, please try. Please do. Consider it, please. I make videos here every week. I'm trying to help people heal and recover and grow from different kinds of trauma. And if you think I'm benefiting you or I can benefit someone else, please support me. Subscribe to my channel, vote up or down, comment down below, tell us where you're from. I would appreciate that very much, and so would anybody else that this reaches and helps. So, as you guys know, I recommend something every week. This week, I'm recommending ASMR. For those of you who do not know what that is already, it stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. Wikipedia says, sometimes autosensory meridian response is a tingling sensation that typically begins on the scalp and moves down the back of the neck and upper spine. A pleasant form of paresthesia. It has been compared with auditory tactile synthesis, and many overlap with frisson. So it's things that people do that triggers this, and that's what I'm going to recommend. So let's see here. Psychology Today says, what do the sounds of whispered affirmations, page turning, tapping fingernails have in common? What about the sight of slow hand movements, soap being gently cut to pieces, and hair being brushed? Well, if you are someone who experiences the autonomous sensory meridian response, for short, you may recognize these seemingly ordinary sounds and sights as triggers for the ASMR experience. Now, this doesn't work for everybody. I'm gonna suggest some videos for you guys to watch so you can see what this is. And it, like I said, doesn't work for everybody, but what the videos I'm recommending, my intent is to help you guys sleep at night. All my clients have problems sleeping. I know most of you guys do too. And sleep is just so vitally important. Besides it being one of our 5 primary needs, it really sets the day, the next day, what kind of day we have. You know, a lot of us are dealing with anxiety. Not enough sleep makes us more and more anxious. A lot of us have damaged brains from these toxic relationships we're in. Sleep is the time that your brain repairs itself. Typically, if you're experiencing trauma and stress and depression, we need about 9 hours of sleep a night. And people who have PTSD, CPTSD, trauma, hypervigilance, on high alert all the time, may have troubles falling asleep, may have trouble staying asleep, may have troubles going back to bed when we get up, things like this. And it's just crucial that we have enough sleep. This is something I hope will help some of you. And besides the ASMR aspect to it, if that doesn't work to you, if you guys put headphones on and listen and it doesn't tingle your spine and all these things, I have stories to listen to, and I think they're really neat. They're really cool, and they're stories that help you mellow out and fall asleep. It's a great routine to try and do before bedtime. Okay, so I'm going to put the links down below for some of these videos I'm talking about. For instance, one is by the French Whisperer, ASMR, and this title is Greek Mythology Sleep Stories, Myth of Creation, Heracles, Trojan War, and Odyssey. Really neat if you get into that. But there's all kinds of different stories you can listen to at bedtime. It's, you know, really soft-spoken, and it really mellows you out and could provide a good sleep for you at night. So, like I said before, or the links down below in the comments or in the description box that take you to some of these videos. And if you look at my playlist, I have a playlist that says ASMR stories, and I put a few down there from different people for you guys to just see different selections. Okay, so let's get started with the first question. Is from Andrew in Ontario. Hello, Andrew. Hi, David, I have a question. My psychs have given me a somewhat answer, but this video really got me thinking. Like you said in this video, NPD is really not that far from codependency. My psychs have had me read books and can totally see how I attract these people and vice versa. I've dated 2 women diagnosed BPD and another diagnosed NPD. My question may be more difficult, but why do some people turn out NPD or BPD? The others turn out a milder form of codependent. I've become aware through help of my doctors that my parents were pretty emotionally abusive. My heart still breaks for my current BPD ex. She had such a bad childhood. I definitely didn't have it as bad as her. But why am I like a different side of the same coin? If I understand your question right, Andrew, The answer would be that we all react differently to abuse and neglect and trauma, for one. That's just one aspect. All of us react. We all have different brains. And you can have two of us be raised exactly the same, and doesn't mean we're going to turn out exactly the same. Okay? I know people that had personality disorders that didn't have as bad a childhood as I did. And they have a personality disorder, and I don't. And vice versa. Okay? I know people who have had childhoods similar to mine, and it didn't affect them as much as it did me. We all have different brains. We grow up in different cultures. Okay? We have different genetic makeup and different upbringing. Two brothers in the same household aren't being treated the same, especially by narcissistic parents. Okay? Especially if it's unhealthy. Parents have a tendency already, people just generally that raise children have a tendency to play favorites. When I hear that somebody has 7 siblings, I'm like, oh geez, besides the fact that there's neglect, has to be, but there's also favoritism almost in every household, okay? With that many children especially. So NPD and BPD are 2 different personality disorders. BPD is more based on trauma. BPD is a reaction to trauma that becomes who they are, their personality. NPD is more neglect and parenting that instills value systems in them to where they turn out the way they are. It's actually pretty complex, and even the DSM doesn't explain it perfectly. Okay, there's still studies on this. I've made many videos about how people turn or have narcissistic personality disorder and borderline personality disorder. Feel free to watch those. So all these people are codependent. Narcissists are codependent. Borderlines are codependent. People that date them, like you might be codependent too, okay? Usually that's how it works. Two people in a relationship. I don't know I think I answered your question. Why am I like a different side of the same coin? Because you've been neglected and maybe also abused. Something very, very important to understand, if you want to understand any of this, is the damage that neglect causes in childhood. It damages us enough to where there's psychological damage in adulthood, okay? Our brains are programmed, so to speak, to typically be there for our parents instead of for ourselves. And we become dependent on them, okay? And we never seek independence. Our parents probably are codependent and makes us dependent on them, and they're dependent on us. Okay, that's a big, big reason why we grow up and date people like this, people that might be similar to our parents. I hope that explains it, Andrew. Like I said, I have many, many videos. I have hundreds of videos on this subject, so please keep watching. I don't know how else I can answer your question, but please keep asking me, okay, so that I can. Thank you very much. Peter, I can't remember. Oh, Peter from Ireland. Thank you. Peter from Ireland. When does the narcissist realize they are wrong? They can't. Okay? It's very important to understand that narcissists reject themselves. They don't accept themselves. Okay? So a big part of our self are things like feelings, what we value, what we need. They shut all this off, their self. They don't accept who they are. Their parents probably did not let them really be who they are. They have a childhood that they are ashamed of, most likely, and they reject that too. You'll have a lot of narcissists tell you that their childhood was perfect, and it's far from it. Far from it. They lack awareness because that awareness is purposefully shut off because they cannot accept themselves. They cannot accept mistakes. They cannot do wrong, ever. They are so full of shame. They have such low self-esteem. They can't look at that part of themselves. They do not accept it like we do, don't we? Typically after relationships, especially failed relationships, abusive, traumatic relationships, especially, after they end, we tend to introspect, okay? We tend to look at ourselves, and that causes depression and things like this. They can't do that. They move right on to the next person, and they deny their past relationship they just had with you. They deny it. They deny any wrongdoings, any kind of accountability or responsibility. They can't accept that part of themselves that fails. And when you can't accept failure in yourself, you can never get better. You cannot see the whole picture because it starts right there. It starts right there. They're an underdeveloped child. And what do children do? I didn't do it. It's not my fault. You made me do it. You did it. Johnny did it. Lisa did it. right? I didn't do it. Because they can't accept that. It's too much for a child, usually, okay? It needs parental guidance to be able to do this, and narcissists didn't have that, okay? I hope that makes sense. If not, please keep asking me, Peter. Thank you very much. Next question from Alex Jones. Don't know where you're from. Please give us your locations. That reminds me, please. Everybody just tell us where you're from. Drop in and say, hi, I'm from here. I really enjoy seeing where people are all over the world. We get people here from Africa and Europe, Iceland, South America, Canada. It's just great. I love it. So it really helps us all feel a little bit more connected and helps everybody understand that it's not just you where you're at, okay? This affects people wherever there are people. So please give us your locations. I appreciate it. And Alex asks, hey, David, I grew up in a very toxic, abusive household. I watched my parents fight for my entire life, physically and verbally. They divorced a year ago, and I'm currently living with my mom, who is extremely mentally unstable and cannot stop obsessing about my dad. Any tips on where to go from here? Out of your mother's house. Okay? Typically in households like this, your parents were dependent on you, and that's something that really will help you see and understand. You comforting your mother, you reacting to her emotions, right, growing up, and to the point where you realize my mother and my father's emotions are more important than mine. People that cannot control or regulate their emotions, emotional outbursts, it gets scary to a child, and we soon stop expressing ourselves. We say that my mom and my dad's emotions are more important than mine. I don't need to express mine. Instead, I need to act accordingly to my parents' emotions. If my dad walks in the room, I know damn well what mood he's in. My father, when he used to come home, I could tell what mood my father was in just by the wooden heels and how he walked on the wooden floor. Hard or soft or mellow or fast, and I could tell what mood he's in, and I would act accordingly. If my dad's in a bad mood, you better not be in a good one, right? If my dad's in a good mood, you better be too. So we're always trying to make them happy, aren't we? Trying to keep the attention off ourselves when, in fact, we need attention. So first recommendation, suggestion I would make, Alex, is separate yourself from your parents, okay? Your parents sound like they're not very healthy. Sounds like your mom may depend on you emotionally, not physically, not financially, emotionally. And it's hard for us, Alex, to discover our own autonomy, to know who we are and be able to start expressing who we are and who we want to become. And that's very, very important for our own growth, okay? To meet our own emotional needs. My guess is your emotional needs haven't been met. And it sounds like they're not going to be by your mother and father. So it's very important to separate somewhat from them. Step out of this picture and it won't seem so stressful, okay? And try to see that this natural reaction you have to serve is also their programming. They raised you, okay? And if you feel a certain kind of commitment to them or a sense of duty, okay, that's fine. Everybody out there, that's fine. As long as you come first, as long as your needs are being met and you aren't being mistreated, that's fine. Okay? But it sounds like your mom's not in a very good emotional state to be there for you in any way, shape, or manner. And if she hasn't been in your childhood, it's time for her to be, or we have to start accepting that we won't get what we want from our mom. You may never get an apology for the past. She may never be able to meet your emotional needs even now and today. So we have to accept these things, okay? And your mom may not be able to be allowed in your interpersonal circle right now, which means that you don't expect her to meet your needs and you don't meet hers, because there has to be reciprocation in every relationship, okay? I hope that helps, Alex. Good luck. Best suggestion, man. Get out of the house, okay? Get out of there. Create some space. Let your mom heal on her own, okay? Or find help. She probably needs help. Thank you. Next one is from Peter again in Ireland. David, could you touch on if they know what they are doing again, please? Well, like I said earlier, the reason people with personality disorders, specifically in the cluster B, right? We've got sociopath, psychopath, narcissist, and borderline and histrionic, okay? 4 disorders, 5 disordered people. And like I said before, they don't accept who they are, okay? They don't grow up with confidence. They grow up with their parents comparing them to people. They grow up being shunned and neglected and abused and abandoned. And all these things tell children that they are bad, bad kids. And the way that they learn how to cope with that is to shut it off. They shut off bad feelings. A lot of these people don't even know how they feel. None of them know what they need. What they want changes so much because they're so unstable. This is awareness, self-awareness. So if I don't know who I am and I'm not aware of what I need or how I feel or what I value, then it's very difficult to be aware of what you're doing, your behaviors. If they know what they're doing, they lack awareness, like I said before, self-awareness. So these are children, underdeveloped children that never finish developing into an adult. Accountability and responsibility are almost non-existent, if not completely non-existent. They will parentify everyone around them, okay? Like I said, in borderline's lives, if you're in a borderline's life that's not getting help at all, getting better, you're just enabling them. I mean that. I don't care anybody out there says, well, no, I stayed, my friend's a borderline and I talk to them every week and, I help them out a little bit. Yeah, but they're not getting better, right? Because the way you make the biggest choices in life, and my God, that would be a big choice for someone with a personality disorder to start getting help for themselves. Typically, the reason people do this is loss or fear of loss. And having people support them, support or help, and they're not getting better, you're enabling them. Okay? Touch on if they know what they are doing again. I think I've explained myself pretty well, but please keep asking me, Peter. I know this is a hard thing to understand at first. Very hard. But I always say, if you can't understand someone, a narcissist or borderline or sociopath, if you can't understand their behaviors, shrink them down to the child, the emotional child they actually are, because we've all been children. And unless we're totally out of touch with that and can't remember being a child at all, we should be able to relate. Because we were like this as children, totally irresponsible, totally unaccountable, totally dependent on people, and totally lack awareness, right? It's hard. It was so hard to admit we were wrong. Our parents made us, right? And you're like, sorry. We hated it and felt bad. And hopefully our parents encouraged us to keep doing that. And then show us that's how we actually can get what we need and what we want. And that's doing it ourselves, right? Where these people won't do anything for themselves. They need you to do it for them. They will not ask. They will not be vulnerable, okay? It's hard enough for everybody to be conscious or aware, right? I try to use an example of everyone out there, all of you, have hurt someone before, haven't you? I mean, my God, if you say no, you're not aware of it either. So we've all hurt people. I've hurt people. But I didn't realize I was doing it at the time. It took seconds, minutes, days, maybe months, maybe years to realize that I was hurting somebody. Okay? I wasn't aware of my behaviors and the direct results of them. It took a while to understand it. And that's where they're at, if not worse. Okay? At least most of us can accept that we make mistakes. And this is judgment, right? Being judged our whole life. Like typically these disordered people have been judged their whole life. They judge themselves. They just take over for their parents. And so they judge and judge and judge and judge and judge. And they never value human connection or who they are inside. And they don't care who you are inside. So they judge themselves, right? And they feel ashamed. So they won't judge themselves. They cut off that awareness. Imagine awareness, which is conscious, being conscious and aware. Imagine like an iceberg, right? And we only see the tip of the iceberg, right? And the rest is down in the water. That's our subconscious. Our conscious is the tip of the iceberg. And the idea is to be more and more conscious of our subconscious as we go on in life, okay? But they refuse to. At least we are trying. They will not. They will not take responsibility, just like a child, and they'll say it's your fault and it's your problem to fix as well. What they may be able to recognize is that their relationship is bad because they feel so bad inside. Emotions. We have thousands of emotions, and they come in layers, and we can have many, 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 many emotions at the same time, okay? And they deny this and won't accept it, but they might know that the relationship is bad, right? And they built a narrative, just like we lied to ourselves that everything's okay, they lied to themselves that everything's not okay. Okay? And if you're the parent, they parentify, and if you're the parent, then it's your fault. It's your job, right? If I'm 6 years old and my life is horrible, it's my parents' fault, isn't it? Really? I mean, what can I possibly do at 6 to make my life so horrible as my parents are trying to make it so great and loving? Right? So it's kind of that attitude, because they never finish developing into an adult, and that's really important to understand if you want to understand their behaviors. I've said this before, but most people that you think you know, right? And you see them doing weird stuff, weird behaviors. Why are they doing this? You guys ask me that all the time. Why are they doing this? Why this? Typically, it's them trying to meet their emotional needs the wrong way. They're not aware of how to do that. They're not even aware of what they need. Actually, they get it all misconstrued, and they think things that they want in life is what they need. It's not. And they don't know any of this, okay? They're just not aware of this. And a lot of us aren't aware of this either, okay? I always say shrink them down to a child. It really helps. I'm going to stop the video here. Part 2. Thank you, guys. Love yourself first, and I'll see you in part 2. Bye.